Hello and welcome to the Warp Shelf. I'm Frank Duran.
I'm Deshawn Vasquez.
And obviously, I'm not in the same location that I normally am. I'm on a trip to Utah for a gig for work and being very safe. We're bubbled. I'm working with a, 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 a very important company, so they're testing us every 2 days. So we're being safe, but I'm out here in Utah, and so we're doing another remote episode. So please welcome to another filthy casual remote episode. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and mostly, Deshawn, how you been, man?
Been all right. Just kind of same old, same old. As
Yeah.
far as like what I've been doing, I got Spider-Man Miles Morales a couple days ago,
Ooh.
and I've been breezing through that. In fact, I got the platinum for it last night.
Okay, then I have to ask, how long did it take to get plat, like gameplay wise?
Uh,
I'm a big fan of howlongtobeat.com, so I literally look up every game I'm about
yeah,
to play.
it's not as long as the first game because Insomniac was pretty straightforward about it, like not being the actual sequel. It's basically an
Yeah,
standalone to
it's
the
it's
first
a
game.
DLC sort
Yeah.
of, but to prove that not only did we give you PS5 upgrade, but here's new content. I
Yeah,
think, like,
and it was only $40, so
yeah, so not too bad.
you're going into it expecting it to be shorter.
So
As
how
as far
long?
as I went all completionist on it, so I was like, I'm not gonna touch the main story until I do everything in the city, and then I'll do the next thing until another set of things become available, just like I did for the first game. And I want to say because to get the platinum, you have to beat it on New Game Plus, so I had to beat the game twice. I want to say it might have crept up on maybe like
Really, you
around
had to
20
beat
hours.
the game twice to
Yeah.
get? Dang, platinum's a wild thing. I'm impressed. You have 40 platinums,
Yeah.
right? That's seriously impressive. I've maybe one. I mean, there's no platinums on Switch, but I've maybe one time 100 completed games on Switch. Like I just don't do that. So it's very impressive that you do.
I actually made a Google Doc if you want me to read through them. I only made this because I used to put them on like a note on Facebook, but Facebook got rid of notes, so I had to
Oh
make a
yeah,
new document for it. So I actually like scrambled and just made this last night just to have it.
nice, nice, nice. Might as well go on,
Yeah,
sir.
try to
What have
go
you
through it.
platinum? Go through them. I won't stop you for too many of them because that'll take up all day if we go through all 40 games.
Yeah.
But
So this is in alphabetical order rather than like order
oh,
of when I platinum then, because I don't even
okay,
remember. So the first one was Back to the Future the game. That's the Telltale Back to the Future game.
nice,
Very
nice.
good.
Need that on Switch. Go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, I've been telling people like it's the Back to the Future 4 you never knew you wanted. And it just feels authentic. It's fun. It gets really trippy with all the different times they go to. And it really helped that they had Bob Gale on as a writing
Yeah,
consultant for the story, so it feels authentic. So it's all around a good time. Next one was Arkham Asylum.
nice.
Yeah, I never did Arkham City or Arkham Knight because fuck that.
Yeah, it's fuckloads of
Asylum was the big problem with Asylum is
much
doing all like
smaller.
the combat and the stealth challenges.
Yeah,
And it was such a pain in the ass in Arkham Asylum. And there's so much more in Arkham City that I'm like, no, that's not happening.
I don't blame you.
Yeah. So
Go ahead.
the next two are also Batman games. These are both seasons of the Batman Telltale game, season 1 and season 2. Sort of Batman.
Yeah, Batman.
Sort of Batman.
Sort of
Batman the
Batman.
animated series parody.
Yeah, there you go. We both got Batman shirts on. Of course, of course. I mean, welcome
Yeah.
to the show, guys. Like, all I
So
own is Batman shirts.
the next one is Crash Bandicoot Warped. So the third one, which is
Nice.
probably the only one I'll leave platinum because I could probably do two. I'm not doing one.
Yeah, that's impressive, though. I mean, fuck, I'm so bad at platforming, so those are hard as hell for me. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Next was the Destroy All Humans remake. That wasn't very
Nice.
hard at all.
Nice.
The next one was Final Fantasy 15,
Oh,
which I'm
cool.
not the biggest fan of, but the platinum was so easy to get that I'm just like, eh.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. Don't hold me
Uh,
back.
Next is Ghost of Tsushima. That's a very recent one.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah. Love that game. Next one was there's going to be a few Telltale games on here because those games are basically
Those are
like,
so easy to platinum.
yeah, exactly. There's just like you beat the game, you got the platinum,
Here you go.
you finished it. So this was Guardians of the Galaxy, which was actually
Nice.
pretty good. It it struck a really good balance of clearly trying to be MCU adjacent, but also pull more from the comics than the movies do.
Yeah, especially
Yeah.
with the costumes. It was definitely like comic costumes, which, you know, it's so funny that that works for Telltale and it blew up in the Avengers face.
Yeah.
Like, because they were like, the Avengers game that came out, if you guys didn't know, did very poorly on sales. It just did not sell the way they thought. They poured money into this. They were like, oh, you want Avengers game? Of course that's going to be big budget. And then a lot of people just didn't buy the game. It just didn't sell.
It didn't look good from the start.
No, and it's because I think two things. So they did the comic accurate costumes, which is good, but then they made the faces not comic book like and not the actors, but like sort of the actors. And that's where you lose literally everybody.
And
if you don't make it look like the comics, you kind of lose people. It's like, it's the video game. You can make literally Steve Rogers. Like, what the fuck was that guy? That's not Steve Rogers, that's Steve Bodgers. Like, you know, like, that's not, like, it's just not the right guy, you know, like, you saw it just seems like the problem with that game is it always seemed like a Asylum movie version of the Avengers, you know, like
down to like the way the costumes were designed, because they again were trying to reach that middle ground of like it's comic booky, but it really looks like the MCU, but it can't exactly be the MCU.
Yeah,
and they just looked so bad. Like Cap's costume was terrible, like his helmet, everything, and Thor's got like this really thick breastplate that seems 2 sizes too big for him.
And it goes into this discussion of Spider-Man because Spider-Man is the number 1 selling game right now in America, and with Miles Morales and Spider-Man attached. And that's a big fucking deal, especially when Avengers was such a flop and literally never premiered at 1.
I think it might be just a case of like passion versus cash-in, because I know when Marvel went to Insomniac.
Oh, we should make that a segment: passion versus cash-in. That should be an episode.
Yeah, that seems like a segment title. It'd be actually a good title for a movie or a book or something. Passion versus cash-in. I know when Marvel went to Insomniac, they pretty much gave them free reign to tackle whatever property they wanted, and Insomniac specifically said they wanted Spider-Man.
Yeah,
so it was clear that they had a take.
That's great. I love it.
Whereas it almost felt like Square Enix was just like, well, we could do Avengers because we know that'll be big.
Yeah, and they're like, and we do Final Fantasy, so we're really good at party stuff, so we'll be really good at Avengers, you know? And you're just like,
Whoops.
Whoops.
But next up was Heavy Rain, which was actually the first platinum I got years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. After that was Hollow Knight, which is probably the hardest platinum I've ever gotten.
That's impressive as fuck, because that's hard as shit. Like, I hate to swear so much, but that game is hard as shit. That like Hollow Knight pissed me off, but I loved it. I love it. I love this game. So well done. But yeah,
you have no idea, dude. Like those last couple of trophies where you basically have to do a boss rush and not die. Just like, oh, you want to go through all the bosses in the game, including the really hard DLC ones, and not die once, otherwise you start over. Have fun.
Jeez.
I basically had to go to this room where they have like these trophies of every boss that you can
to be fair, a lot of NES games end like that. You know, where they're just like, yo, you beat all these bosses, time to beat them again. You know?
Yeah, you're Mega Mans and stuff like that. But Mega Man only has like 8 to 10 as opposed to dealing with like 40 fucking bosses that you have to do without dying. I had to basically go into the room where you can just replay them as much as you want. It's like this big trophy room. Yeah. And I had to like practice every single one of them individually, like to a T.
That's just like terrible.
To just fucking know them. And then eventually I was able to do it.
See, that's the patience I don't have.
That's when I like just basically mute the TV and just like, okay, time to listen to some pump up music and just fucking tunnel vision. Yeah. After that, it was Horizon Zero Dawn.
Nice.
Love that game. Can't wait to play the next one.
Yeah.
Like that's going to be the real system seller for me for the PS5. Nice. Even though I was already going to get a PS5, I'm just waiting for them to
The
work the kinks
bugs.
out. Yep.
Yeah.
It happens.
If there's any PSA that we want to say to any of our listeners, just don't buy a console at launch. I know it's so tempting. I know it's. I get it. I last week I was like, why don't I just do it? You know, like I got paid. Who gives a shit? You know. And then I was like, the minute that everyone was like, my PlayStation deleted all my data because of a bug, and I was like,
It's like, oh, the disk drive's not working properly. Oh, this, oh, that. And I'm just like, oh, yeah, how could this have happened? It's not like we go through this every single time or anything.
Yeah, exactly. I just want them to work out the kinks because I'm excited for no load times. That sounds amazing. That sounds incredible.
Yeah,
just to be able to be like, whoop, 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 whoop.
We were already sort of heading in that direction anyway. Like Ghost of Tsushima, which comes out at like the tail end of the PS4's life cycle, like the very tail end, is a huge open world game, and that game's loading times is ridiculously fast. Like you die and you respawn in like 3 to 4 seconds, and it's ridiculous.
That's crazy.
I think back to like Skyrim, where you go through a door and you're waiting for 10 minutes.
Yeah, you're like, I'm spinning the trophy. Here we go. You're like, good thing I died to that troll, and here I go load again, and he kills me again.
That time again. So the next one is Infamous.
Nice.
And I also did Infamous 2 and Infamous Second Son.
Nice.
Which progressively got easier to platinum. The first one was the hardest, the second one was easier, and then the Second Son was even easier than that.
Second Son's it's a good game, but it's very short. Yeah. But go on. We gotta get through this list.
Yeah. we're already getting there. We're almost halfway through. Next one was the first Jack and Daxter game. Didn't do 2 or 3 because fuck that.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. 2 especially. 2's the hardest.
2's hardest, but 2's great. 2's some of the best.
After that is Lego Batman 3, and I did Lego Marvel Superheroes. Another game that's super easy to platinum. Lego Batman 3 was a lot of fun, especially as just a DC nerd. Just like, I get to play as Swamp Thing. I get to play as Crypto. It's like stupid fan service.
It's great. I'm really excited for, speaking of Lego things, the Disney Plus holiday special. I haven't watched that yet. It comes out today, right? Today? No, it came out yesterday, the 17th.
Yeah, I've been seeing advertisements for it.
So I'm excited to watch it because I was like, oh no, they're already leading into that. They're making fun of the holiday special. Like, this is gonna be fucking awesome. And I mean, it's Lego. They have such a good humor about it that you're just like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Next up was Life is Strange and Life is Strange Before the Storm.
Oh, nice.
I got to get back to 2. I played like 2 episodes of it. It's like one of the few games I actually stream because I have a person who just likes watching me play them. It started with like the Batman games.
Oh, nice.
And 2 is good so far. It's really fucking sad.
Yeah.
They cranked up that like depression dial to 11 compared to the first game. It's so damn sad. Whereas the first one is just like, oh, you're this girl at this art school and you can turn back time. Now it's just like, oh, you're like these Hispanic American kids who get like chased down by the cops after their dad is killed, and now they're fucking fugitives and they're gonna get deported, and you're like, It's a lot.
It seems like a lot. Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So after that is the Mega Man X Legacy Collection. That's Legacy Collection 1, so that's X 1 through 4.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm still chipping away at like the others, but the ones for X5 are super annoying because they've required me to beat the game like multiple times. And I like X5. I don't like playing it 3 times in a row.
Yeah, that nobody likes to play a game through. I mean, some people do, but like nobody likes to play a game 3 times in a row. Yeah. Yeah,
like Spider-Man I could do it for. When I first got Arkham City, like I pretty much beat it and then beat it again on hard.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. After that is Persona 5 Royal.
Nice.
Which is actually an easier platinum to get than Persona 5 Vanilla. The vanilla version of Persona 5's platinum is like requires way more to do.
Really?
So I'm glad that Royal was just easier. After that was the first, the original 3 Sly Cooper games.
Nice.
Also super easy.
Cool.
Sonic Generations.
Oh, okay. Oh no, Generations is good. Sorry, I was trying to think of all the Sonics, and I was like, and then I was like, no,
Generations is one of the good ones.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good one. It's a good one.
Spider-Man and Spider-Man Miles Morales.
Nice.
All 3 Spyro games.
Nice.
Steep.
Really?
Which is weird for me.
Yeah, that is weird for
Yeah.
you. You were just like, fuck yeah, snowboarding.
Well, not just snowboarding. The reason I like steep and what interested me, we were all in my Discord group. We were all sort of interested in it when it was first announced because it wasn't limiting itself to one thing. It wasn't just snowboarding. It was also skydiving and
yeah,
paragliding and this and that. It was just a big winter sports compilation, and sort of like the shit we do in GTA, but wintry.
yeah, that's cool.
So, but then it sort of came and went, and it got like overshadowed by like other stuff that we had gotten. But then it went free on PlayStation Plus, and I was the only one who still remembered like being really interested in it. So I grabbed it and I played the shit out of it.
That's awesome. I didn't know. That's cool.
Next up is 5 Uncharted games: 1, 2, 3, 4, and Lost Legacy.
Holy shit! Holy shit!
I had already had the second game platinum because I liked that the most before 4 came out.
Nice.
And then leading up to 4, I was just like, you know what? Before 4 comes out, I'm going to platinum the third game. And then once I did that, I'm like, I did it too fast. I'm like, shit, this game still has like a couple weeks left to come out. Should I do 1? 1's a pain in the ass. Okay, I'll do it. And I did. And Uncharted 1 on crushing difficulty is not fun.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it.
And then Lost Legacy, because I had done the other 4 at this point. Now I just felt contractually obligated to do it. And then the next 3 are all Telltale games, the last 3.
Nice.
Walking Dead Season 1. Season 3, because for some reason Season 2 didn't have a platinum.
Huh?
For some fucking reason, which really bothers
weird.
me.
Yeah.
I've been cheated. Every other Telltale game has a platinum.
I've been lied to. I've been betrayed.
It'd be one thing if like the first game had a platinum, but then they decided not to do for the others. But the fact that they did 1, didn't do 2, but then brought it back for 3. I don't know.
And
the last one is the Wolf Among Us. Looking forward to Season 2 for that. I have the Walking Dead final season. I just haven't started yet.
Oh, awesome. And we're going to continue talking about beating games because I've actually started beating some games. I had the issue of not being able to beat any games during this quarantine, and then finally I'm out of my funk. I've stopped playing Idle Champions, stopped cold turkey, because I was hopelessly addicted to it, put over 2,000 hours into it. I'm done with it. I walked away. I'm sorry, Forgotten Realms, CNE Games. You guys made a great game. Forgotten Realms is so... Idle Champions and Forgotten Realms, so good. But I had to step away and start actually beating games. Because if you know, on every year I write an article on New Year's about all the games I've beaten that year and try to beat the number that I had. And the year before, I did not actually beat my number. So I'm trying to take steps now to try to beat really short games.
So what did you beat besides Hades? Because we talked about that last time.
We talked about Hades. I beat SteamWorld Quest Hand of Gelgamek, which I think I talked a little bit about the last time. I actually beat it. And I almost was going to try to 100% it, but then I found out like how much more cards could be unlocked, and I was like, never mind. But that was great. I played this great music video of a game, really, called Sayonara Wild Hearts. It's got Queen Latifah as a narrator. Every scene, every major scene is a song in an album that they put out for this game called Sayonara Wild Hearts, and all the in between levels are these great like original tracks that you play to. And I gotta say, it's one of the most enjoyable and short music games I've played in a long time, because it obviously has a love for old video games and dove into that. There would be moments where I was playing a shoot 'em up, moments where I was playing Sonic the Hedgehog. There was moments where obviously it was like a quick time event because it's a music game. But it's just like, and there's lots of like references to old video games. There's obviously a bunch of obvious references to Legend of Zelda at the beginning, and everything's all like tarot card based. It's really just got a lot of unique flavor, and I would recommend it to anybody because it literally took me an hour and a half to beat, and it was so enjoyable. And I've been listening to the soundtrack nonstop all week. I love it. It's really good soundtrack, and and the mute and the representation of the music in the game is really well done.
Mm-hmm.
And then I put on the list that I did beat Idle Champions because I did unlock all the characters in the game. I'm not going to give them all gold because technically you have to spend fucking money to get all that. So I'm just walking away with all the characters unlocked. I played this great little game called A Short Hike, which obviously you knew was going to be short. So I was like, I'll give this a shot. Another one that was, it's only really an hour long, but you can obviously go completionist on it and get like 4 or 5 hours out of it and still find it very enjoyable. I put 3 hours into it and I really liked it. If you are feeling stuck inside and you can't, like you haven't gone on a hike in a while, play this game. It's really just kind of this like Zen moment of a game, definitely very interactive. It's another game that loves its old video games and leans into it. You're just basically have this one island to explore. You're this little tiny bird girl who, and I say bird, and everybody's like animals on the island, and you basically are told you can't get phone call service on where you are, so you have to go to the top of the mountain on the island to get service, and it's just really this like obvious that like it's not in the destination, it's in the journey type of stories, and it's really well done. It's the coolest bit is the flying. You, as a bird, you catch the gusts of wind that are flowing around the island, and it's just it's as fluid as using the glider in Breath of the Wild, but like more so because you're a fucking bird, and it just feels like you have full control over everything. And the island is even though it's it's like it's contained, it still feels big, and you really have a lot of flying you can do around. And I was really impressed with it. The soundtrack's great, and really it made me laugh a couple times, and it's just. I recommend it to anybody.
Yeah, your experience with it sounds a lot like how I feel about Journey.
Yeah, what did I buy? I bought Abzu. By the Journey people. That's what I'm going to play next. That's another hour-long game when I have the chance. But
I played a little bit of it. It went free on PlayStation Plus like years ago. I just haven't really touched it.
Yeah, I mean, I love Journey. I thought Journey was great. This is more, I would say A Short Hike is more interactive than Journey, where Journey's just like taking you on a journey. This is more just like, hey, here's this island, do what you want with it. You could also, you unlock gold feathers so you can climb mountains higher and fly longer and do special tricks. So it's kind of like Breath of the Wild that way, where it's like, yeah, you unlock things so you can climb more, I definitely got that like vibe that these guys like loved Breath of the Wild and were like, yeah, but what if we were a bird? And then I spent a good chunk of time playing this another shorter RPG, but definitely I put, I think, 10 hours into it. Saturday Morning RPG. This is a love letter to the 80s. It's a fun romp of just like it's a simple RPG. Your character, Marty, of course. It's the 80s. Got to reference every 80s reference is all over this thing, and you fight Captain Hood, who's obviously a reference to G.I. Joe, and it's just it's fun because it's an interactive RPG where, and I think this is where it does RPGs well, is that to power up your attacks to get your multiplier, you have to do this mini game where you press A to get all powered up, and you go Super Saiyan, and then to do certain attacks, there's attacks that you just do and they hit, but certain attacks involve a mini game. Some as simple as a bar going across, you hit it at the right spot, to literally a Simon game, like where you have to hit the right order, like and it does, and it gets complicated because that one it hits multiple enemies, but you have to do a new sequence of the Simon game every time you hit a new enemy. So it's like the third or fourth enemy, you're like, okay, left, right, down, up, left, down. You're like, okay, I got this. But the main thing is that to interact is that to do defense, you can either just take the damage, but obviously you will die really fast because you're the only character in your party. To do defense, you have to hit A before it hits you, and obviously the closer to the hit that you do, the better of a block it is, and it just made it. It made that fast-paced action game feeling, but put it in an RPG. Like where I could not pay attention and still click through and grind if I wanted to, but really the main focus of the game is this interactive, like every RPG fight is an interactive experience instead of being like a Pokemon game where you're like A, burn.
Yeah.
It definitely, you feel it more.
Okay.
Which, it's funny because I'm starting to play Cyber Sleuth, Digimon Cyber Sleuth, and I keep pressing A to block damage when they attack me, and it does nothing in that game.
Nope.
And I just keep doing it. It's the same thing as I play other games, and I always hit Y to reload in Overwatch after each round I hit, and I keep doing it in other shooting games. Even though there's like no need to reload, I'm like constantly hitting the Y button after a clip goes off, and you're like, oh wait, hold on, you don't need to do that in this game. But to go into the game I'm actually playing right now, I'm playing Digimon Cyber Sleuth, and I'm really enjoying this game. I know you've played this.
Yeah. I played the vanilla game. I didn't play Hacker's Memory.
Nice. I'm 10 hours into Cyber Sleuth right now because I took the 5-hour flight here to Utah, so I had a bit of time to play, and I'm really enjoying this. First off, how did Digimon put out a better Pokemon game the same fucking year as Pokemon and no one talked about it? Like, how? This game's far better than Sword and Shield. Like, the only thing that Sword and Shield has on it is the open world, like, MMO element. That's it, with the raids and everything.
And even then, that open world element in Sword and Shield is super rudimentary compared to its contemporaries.
Exactly! It's so wild that, like, some of the random off stories in Digimon are better than the entire plot of Sword and Shield. And I love Sword and Shield. I put 180 hours into that fucking game, and I love that. I do love it. But how did this happen that no one told me that Digimon was way better? Evolution is way better. Everything about growing Pokemon. How is the Digifarm, like, how in a world do we have Digifarm and we still have to do one egg at a time at fucking the farm in Pokemon? Like, how? Like, it's just the leaps and bounds of, like, how to make the gameplay more fun in Digimon is astounding.
This just compiles onto the argument that I've had for Digimon for the last 2 generations, is that it's just gotten way too big for its own good, and everything has to be rushed and pushed out because it has to coincide with the anime, and it has to coincide with the cards, and it has to coincide with the merchandise. So it all has to, like, come out at a specific schedule to, like, re-engage the branding. And as a result, we just keep getting rushed generations, and that's just finally caught up to.
Yeah, and I think that Digimon it just spent the time and made a good game. Like the passion or cash in here when we were saying this. This game is just an obvious passion project because it doesn't give you right away all the characters you love from the show. It doesn't even give you Agumon until like 5 hours in, unless you like forced it. Like it's like. I love the way you scan Digimon and then can just hatch them. That's as much as like capturing Pokemon is fun. It's still just like I threw a ball at it and I caught it. It's still I pressed an A button and an A button. At least here it's like I saw that Digimon 5-6 times and now I can evolve them out of an egg and then just use them. Like as much as I want. I definitely, it's so funny because there's such a great variety of Digimon and I still have like the same team I've had from the beginning.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I went pretty like Adventure 1, 2, and like Tamer's biased when I played mine.
Yeah.
So
Obviously.
no Frontier stuff because there wasn't any Frontier stuff in the original game, but there is Frontier stuff in Hacker's Memory, which makes me
Oh,
really want
cool.
to play it.
Cool. And
But
I also love that. I think number one that Digimon has over Pokemon here is that you have multiple evolutions for your Digimon. Like, fuck, man. Like, how is that they beating Digimon at this? I mean, Pokemon at
well,
this?
it's
It's
funny
just like,
because little elements in Pokemon games for the last like maybe like 3 or 4 generations have slowly been like cherry picking elements from Digimon anyway. Like
yeah,
when Mega Evolutions became
Mega
a thing, I'm
evolutions.
like, that seems very Digimon-esque. And even since like, and they keep adding just elements here and there, I'm just like, that seems very Digimon. That seems very Digimon. That seems very Digimon.
Yeah, and the funny thing, the other comparison I have to give this game to is Astral Chain. And I know then when you speak Astral Chain, you have to talk Batman, Arkham Asylum, and everything like that because it's a detective game. But it's funny because Astral Chain even looks like this game in ways. You know, like I know you didn't play Astral Chain, but it's basically anime Arkham Asylum in a cyberpunk environment, and it great game, great game on Switch. I don't think enough people talk about it because I think people were like, "It ain't an anime game. I'm not gonna play that."
I think
And
that, and it was like a platinum game that was Switch only, didn't really interest people.
but that's the thing. That name right there should make you buy this fucking game. Platinum makes the best fucking games. I like in one of the if you had to pick one of my favorite developers, I would automatically say Platinum because Bayonetta, you know, like the Devil May. I know they didn't do Devil May Cry, but like so many great games. Wonderful 101, and like and Astral Chain is just this great culmination of the battling of Bayonetta, the detective work of like Arkham Asylum, and a great story. And Cyber Sleuth may not have as dynamic of a story, but I forgive it for how good the battling is, how good the digivolving is. And
Yeah,
it does
the
try
branching.
to do a good story. You know, like I'm not. It's not like Pokemon where it was like, yeah, there's a god Pokemon and he's fucking shit up, so we gotta stop him. Because that's what Sword Shield is. And they're like, and the adults are up to some weird shit, as
Yeah,
always.
we've been recycling that same thing since I'd probably argue Gen 3, because Gen 3 was when we got really blockbustery. We were just like, gods, the end of the world. And then
It's
like
so
every
true.
subsequent generation has been trying to like just do that over and over again.
Yeah, and it's so funny because the anime is not like that all the time, you know,
Not all the time, no.
and so it's kind of like you're kind of like, what are we? Where are you getting this? You know,
Yeah,
like it's
how are these games gotten more anime than the anime?
exactly. You're
But
just
Cyber
like, all
Sleuth
right,
was a lot of fun.
Silas is
Some of the
great.
evolution like requirements can be like a really tough challenge. I remember I wanted movie shit, so I wanted Omnimon. I
Yeah,
really wanted Diaboromon. Diaboromon was a pain in the ass to get.
and but that's also kind of a nice thing here, you know, like because even at its hardest to get Pokemon in Sword and Shield, it's not that fucking hard, you know, like it's really not. And I could see myself playing a shit ton of this Digimon Cyber Sleuth, especially because I think on Switch it's a great pick up and play game. It's just one of those that, you know, like you save, close it, come back, you know, like
Yeah, especially with the amount of side quests, you could be like, okay, I could pick this up, play for a bit, and then just like come back to it.
exactly. It's the way I did feel about Pokemon Sword and Shield when I was playing it a ton, is that, you know, you could hop in, catch Pokemon or two, hop the fuck out, you know, like, and be fine with it, you know, like, after you beat the main story, of course. But, like, and I think Cyber Sleuth's the same way, where I definitely will be playing this a lot longer than the story is because obviously I want the fucking Digimon. And I definitely am already doing that where I'm like, oh, I haven't bred him yet. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. You know, like I'm already doing like the heavy like, oh, yep, I don't have him,
Yep,
I don't
and
have
also
him. Like
experimenting and trying to unlock side quests that give you specific evolution lines. Like there's a side quest that gives you the golden armor digi eggs from the movie or the third movie.
really,
Yeah.
really. All right. that sounds good. Speaking of Digimon the show, I just got to the first Golden Digi-Egg reveal in Adventure 2. So I'm on Adventure 2 now. I've finished Adventure 1. Adventure 1, good stuff, but obviously heavy on the nostalgia. I do not recommend it to many people. I wouldn't be like, hey, what are you watching? Some good anime? Might as well watch Digimon Adventure 1. Same caliber. No, I would not. I would not fucking say that. But Digimon Adventure 2 is actually a lot more fun. I really enjoyed that they went from being like, so we're basically a Power Ranger episode where we take the transitions where we've used for episodes and episodes and we slap that into every episode to being a fully animated show. And I think that's, and of course they still recycle the, we're going into the computer and like they do that. that shit's fire though. That shit's like, that shit's fire. Mind. Yeah, that's like, I know that's annoying, but like every time it comes on, I'm like, exactly. I get down.
Like that's what that exists for. That was to pump you up as a kid. Just like, yes, also same thing with the Digivolutions. Just like, yes, I've seen this animation a million times. But am I any less hyped than I was the first time? No.
Like, play that shit again. It's so true. It's definitely just like, all right, that was fucking awesome. Play it again.
Did you watch the movie yet? Because I said you pretty much can now.
I have not. I definitely want to try to do it on this Utah trip when I have a little time at night. I might try to watch the Digimon movie because I've seen it. I saw it when I was younger, of course, and I think it was one of the DVDs I had, so I've seen it a bunch, but I definitely do not remember much. So I'm excited to get down to it. But Digimon Adventure 2, it's just amazing that they like finally animated everything, and you're kind of like, this is what I wanted Adventure 1.
Yeah, the only thing I prefer with Adventure 1 is the cast.
Yes, but then again, they bring the entire cast back every episode. Like
they show up a lot.
And
like TK and Kari are like grown now, so that's like the best part.
To me, that's the best part, is that they were able to accomplish this growing up mechanic that so many shows fuck up. How many cartoons try to do the you're adult now and they just ruin it? Like, I mean, the obvious is Rugrats all grown up. Like, that you could just be like, yup. But you could also point at every one of those live action Fairly Odd Parents movies. You're like, nobody wanted this. Stop this. And Drake Josh is like, I need money. I say Drake and Josh, but you know what I mean. But it's one of those things that like so many cartoons can't do this. Like, one of your characters is grown up now, and for them to do the whole cast is grown up and it's kind of flawless is really impressive, to be fair. Like, it's one of those things that just doesn't happen often. They did a good job.
The only character I've like never liked in the main cast is Davis, but that's the problem because he's clearly like the new Ty, and I'm like, this fucking tool, get out of here, take those goggles off.
I know, and that Ty gives him his goggles the first episode. You're like, Ty, what the fuck are you gonna wear then? you're like, no. How you gonna protect your eyes, Ty?
It got to the point where when you got to the Try movies, they had to just have Izzy make him a pair of new goggles because David still has his.
Yeah, and you're like, wait, hold on. And it's just so funny because they use it once, and I watched the episode of it just recently. It's episode 16, and Davis like puts them on, and I was like, the fuck just happened? Like, I was like, whoa, we don't acknowledge the goggles except for looks. We don't put on the goggles. I was like, what the hell just happened here? This is for aesthetics only. How dare you? But I mean, I'm not as mad at Davis. Like, he's obviously supposed to be an obnoxious character, like, it's like, he will obviously grow to be a better person. That's like the point of Digimon, is that not only do the Digimon evolve, but I digivolve too. Sorry, I watched too much of it, so I'm just like, like, you're just like, I'm okay with this, even though it's
there are lines and stuff from Digimon that's just like burned into my brain. I had a conversation in my Discord a little while ago because we were talking about the movie. I think we just went on a tangent about Digimon just because we were talking about like me getting the device.
Nice.
And we were just quoting lines for like half an hour. Especially like the especially the Digivolution specifically in Adventure 2.
Yeah.
Just like Halcymon and shit like that. Just like Digimon, the drill of power.
Oh my god, right? That's just stuck in my head forever.
Halcymon, the wings of
love.
That's actually the Digivice I had.
Yeah.
I had the one with Hawkmon because I really liked Hawkmon's like Digivolution designs.
Yeah.
So that's the one I picked. And my brother had Davis's Digivice because he really loved Vmon.
And that's the interesting part, is that Vmon's a character from another anime. I was looking this up the other day, is that Vmon and Tai were originally together in another anime, and that bringing Tai's the only other character that's from another anime, and Vmon had to be is kind of a remake of what his Digimon was in whatever that anime was. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but I was reading this and I was just like, what? I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I was like, so this is all really full circle? Like, I was like, what the fuck? Like, super strange, but I'm into it. Before we finish off Digimon, I got Puppetmon here, and I also had to evolve to Durandamon, because come on, he's got my name in it. I had to get Durandamon. I was like, you are my Digimon, man. And then he's just a sword creature. He's actually got one of the better animations on the Digivice. When he attacks, he fully transforms into a sword. And all his evolutions did that. And I was like, that's good stuff. That's a solid 8-bit animation right there.
I got Cordramon here right now.
Ooh.
And I purposefully killed Omnimon because I want original Omnimon.
Yeah, give me fucking Omnimon!
So right now I haven't even activated the egg yet. It's still just like the cross on the stone. I haven't interacted with him yet. I'm just leaving him there for now.
I don't think I talked about that in my article or on the podcast yet, is how sad it is to fucking purposely kill your Digimon on this. Even if you like them, even if you don't like them, even if you're like, I hate this Digimon, let me kill this thing. It sings such a sad song when you finally kill it.
It's a long song.
It's such a long song. It's like a minute long. And you're like, okay, just
like, this isn't the end of Rafficon. Relax.
And exactly, you're like, Jesus Christ. And then they sit there with the crucifix staring at your face pretty much forever, being like, you fucking killed him. You did this, like, until you hatch an egg. Like,
but I got Cordramon because his evolution becomes Tai's War Greymon.
Nice.
So once I actually bother to pull the trigger on resetting the egg, I'll do the egg that will eventually get me Matt's Metal Garurumon, because I want OG Omnimon. The Alter S version is pretty sick. I like that the weapons are reversed. So like, Garurumon is the one with the sword, and Blitz Greymon Greymon is the one with the gun.
Yeah, no, I definitely, I think that's another thing that Digimon embraces, that like Pokemon Sword and Shield was like, and Sun and Moon were like, okay, we're going to introduce variants of the same Pokemon. They're like, just some of them. And Digimon's like, give me that black, give me that gray, give me that white, I don't care. Like, they just like, they just dive in on the variants, and I just like, I love that. I know it's so stupid because it's most of the time it's just a skin change, but you're kind of like, that's pretty cool. You're like, that's pretty nice.
Omnimon like has like an alternate form in the Tri movies, and as like hit and miss as those movies are, like when I got to that, I'm like, dope. The Tri movies are also really good about giving everyone in the Adventure 1 cast like mega forms who never got them before.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just like, oh, fucking finally.
Yeah, you're like, all right, give it to me.
It can't just always be Ty and Matt every time.
Exactly. You're like, that they're supposed to fight every fight. That's pretty, that's some heavy lifting right there.
I mean, Izzy's my favorite anyway, so like, come on, show my boy.
Show my boy. Give him give my boy some shit. So to stop talking about Digimon, on my flight here, I watched some movies recently, so I wanted to talk to you about them. It's a 5-hour flight to Utah, so I had some time with these movies here. So I watched Gemini Man, starring Will Smith and Will Smith, and Mary Elizabeth Winstead, which nobody fucking told me. If they had told me that Mary Elizabeth Winstead was in this movie, Winstead, sorry, I would have watched this movie. First off, she's beautiful. I love her. She's great in everything. And she's a great actress. Fargo, everything she's in, she's great. And she's in this, and she's not very good in this per se, but you're kind of like, it's a welcome addition, because I thought it was just going to be Will Smith by himself the whole time.
That's probably why you didn't hear about it, because the main pull of that movie is just like, yo, it's young and old Will Smith. It's Will Smith versus Will Smith.
So
kind of distracts you from anything else.
It's true. They definitely just lean into it. But so there's some things that I did like about this movie. This is a very simple movie. It's funny. It has the same end fight sequence as Sonic the Hedgehog. I have to say that right off the bat. They fight in a small town and they fight through grocery stores and shit. And it almost looks like the same town as Sonic. And you're kind of like, did we use the same set, guys? you're like, did Gemini Man and Sonic the Hedgehog use the same fucking set? Like, what happened here? There's also my Clive Owen, one of my favorite actors of all time, playing the villain in this movie. So that automatically leveled up this movie for me.
Good for him. He's kind of disappeared.
Right, but he plays a pretty good villain here. Pretty simple, like very much like, but obviously it does a good job. And really, the movie. It's just a simple action film, but obviously there's the draw of like you're being hunted down by a younger version of yourself.
How's the effect for young Will Smith? Because
that's
most
the thing.
Of what I've seen looks pretty good.
It does. That's what I gotta say. So of course there's scenes. It's an Ang Lee movie, so he'll make some fight scenes CGI, and obviously that doesn't look good. But like the scenes where like you're seeing young Will Smith and he's talking looks really good. Because first off, okay, so I bring the comparison of The Irishman. So you're telling Robert De Niro, play a younger version of yourself. And he can't exactly do it because he's old. Like, but if you tell Will Smith, play a younger version of himself, nails it. Nails it. Like, he just gets it. Like, he like kind of like understood how to do all his old mannerisms, and like, it just definitely comes across as like, this is definitely younger Will Smith. And there's some scenes that don't look as great. I don't, like, this is definitely better than Tron. But, like, there's some scenes where you're like, it kind of looked like Tron for a second there. But, like, overall, the effect looks good. Will Smith actually kills it pretty much talking to himself. He does a really good job. It's just such a basic action movie. It's so basic. It's like, Will Smith is the best assassin alive and he wants to retire, but now that he wants to retire, that would be a loose end. So Clive Owen sends in younger version of himself, of Will Smith, to kill him. And
so what you're saying is watch Looper instead?
Yes. Watch Looper instead for an actual good movie. Gemini Man, though, it definitely didn't get much love, and I would say if you're looking for a fun action movie, this might be it. Okay. I enjoyed it.
It sounds like a proverbial airplane movie.
Yes, exactly. I was trying to find some airplane movies. So the next two are bad, but I wanted something bad that I needed to see. So I watched Rambo: Last Blood for my next movie, and God damn it. How the fuck do they make the best Rambo movie? How do they put out Rambo, and it's the best fucking Rambo movie they've ever put out other than Last Blood, and then they're like, but next up, the worst thing you've ever fucking seen in your life. And you're like, God damn it. It's just, I was saying this is the Anchorman 2 of action sequels, where it's like, Anchorman 2 is like, oh, I think I saw Anchorman 10 years ago, so I'll write the sequel without ever actually watching the movie or understanding why it was successful. But I will rehash all the things you liked from the last one. And you're just like, I don't want that. And that's exactly what happens here is, so Rambo somehow has gotten a little Spanish family, and he's living down in Mexico, and his like he calls her his niece, but like obviously it's his daughter figure. He's trying to take care of her. It's like he's just trying to retire, but obviously wants to take care of her. And she gets kidnapped and sold in sex trafficking, and basically Rambo kind of like walks up all Rambo-y and gets his ass handed to him and basically kills this girl because they're like, well, now that you've come and shown that you're an asshole, I'm going to kill this girl because of that. And then they just pump her full of heroin and she dies. And you're just kind of like, okay. Like, you're like, so now Rambo's, as always, alone and pissed. You're just like, okay, so it just has none of the emotional through line of Rambo. With all the stuff is it Thailand? Where are they in Rambo? I forget which country they're supposed to be.
I think they're like in Thailand or somewhere.
Yeah, I want to say, and I love that movie because it. So the reason why Rambo's successful and Last Blood just doesn't fucking get it is that Rambo was like, hey, I'm going to show you a little bit of the Rambo story, why he's out in this fucking jungle. But of course you know why he's out in this jungle. He's Rambo. He doesn't know what else to do. And then, like, he's like, you're like, here's some injustices. And then, oh, and now Rambo has to step in. And it just, like, is full fucking throttle to the end. Last Blood is like, here's an action scene, let me wait 20 minutes. Here's an action scene, let me wait 20 minutes. And then let me give you a very unsatisfactory ending where he defends his farm, which for some reason has an underground bunker the whole time, like, that he dug himself in his PTSD, I guess. Like, you're just like, it's just so outlandish. That's like the main thing, is that, like, obviously Rambo's trying to say something about stopping sex trafficking and cartels and stuff like that. He's trying to say something that's actually a problem in the world, but he delivers it with such like 80s like villainous instead of it being like an actual problem, like in Rambo it was. You know, like
it's just everything about it, because I haven't even seen it myself because it didn't look good from the beginning. It
doesn't. Oh, it's not good.
And it just looked all like low-hanging fruit, like sort of easy, like women in refrigerator tropes, just like, eh.
Yeah. And that's the crazy part, is that they like, it's not even like that he saves the girl. She fucking dies. And then he just exacts revenge on these people when they show up to his farm. And
I mean, that's basically the definition of that trope. Like, female character exists to die just to motivate the male protagonist.
Die!
Yeah.
And the next movie I talk about also has this same problem of just being like, here's a female, and I'm gonna fucking murder her just for you to have a problem. You know, like, and...
Yeah.
But to wrap up Last Blood, it just misses the point. I thought I would be excited for the last half an hour when he finally unleashes and kills everyone in the cave. But it falls into that I can't fucking see anything because we're in a fucking cave. So he's like tearing people apart, but it's obviously a lot faker looking than the last movie. A lot more CGI blood. Not as many practical effects. And they try to like keep the same amount of like gratuitous violence that happens, but they're not doing it to any effect. You know, like that's why Rambo is effective. It's violent, but it's like, it's to keep that like tension moving, you know, like to keep that like, oh shit, like Rambo's fucking like pissed.
Yeah, Rambo's never been like a franchise that I've enjoyed, only because I can't say I enjoy the franchise, because I only like, before Last Blood was a thing, I could only say I like the first movie and the last movie.
I like them all, just because
I like First Blood
are.
And I like Rambo because they actually have a fucking point.
But
2 and 3, not so much.
But 3, he shoots an arrow and blows a guy up. what more do you want? No, but that's the thing, is that even at 3, where it's ridiculous, outlandish, and you're kind of like, why the fuck is he doing this other than he's got orders? The the last blood just feels so empty, even though it's going through such more of an emotional pull. It's like definitely like he's trying to bring the Rocky feel and Creed feel, where he's like, look, son daughter, look, I can write good son daughter scenes, and you're like, you can, Sylvester Stallone, but I don't know this character, and she dies so quickly that you're kind of like, fuck, and does so little that it's just so. It just feels like every one of her scenes were so long anyways, and then they just like killed her so easily that you're kind of like, that was a waste of time, like you basically wasted half your movie. It's just a huge waste of a movie, like they just don't know their pacing. They don't know what they got here. It's just, it's sad because he's definitely too old to be doing this. And we said that with Rambo, and now now with Last Blood, you're like, this is not
Yeah,
good.
like you were already pushing it last time.
Yeah, exactly. This one feels like the cash grab, and it should be treated as such. It's just not. It's just not good. And I say that as loving all the other Rambo movies, even though inherently they are not super great. But like I love them. I just did not like Last Blood. I just think that the ending is just so. It's just not. It's just nothing. Like you're just like, oh. Okay, so all your emotions gone. They just keep constantly negating their emotional pull, and that's something I just can't forgive in a narrative, when they're like, hey, here's something emotional, and then I'm gonna fucking take it away. And you're just
I can
like,
very rarely forgive CG blood.
yeah.
That was my big
Yeah.
problem. I never watched Expendables 2 and 3 because I really didn't like the first one.
I own
But
them all.
I fucking hated the CGI like blood in the first
I
Expendables.
would take any of the Expendables over this. That's what I would say about this, is that this is just like Sylvester Stallone not acting great, so he's not doing his best work. It's CGI blood, it's boring, it doesn't have a good ending, and it's just kind of eh. Which is very sad for a series I do like. It's funny. It's like it's gone the way of Die Hard, where you're just like, I don't fucking see those movies. Like you're like, don't watch those ones. Like you're just like, don't watch the latest. But
Yep.
moving on to a movie that I don't know if you've either seen yet because it was so bad. Was X-Men: Dark Phoenix.
No, I still haven't seen it.
Good. You shouldn't. This is bad writing all over. You already know, I don't like X-Men movies. I don't like X-Men movies, but I did like First Class. And I like Days of Future Past. And I think that there's great things to be done with great X-Men storylines here, but that for them to be like, hey, let's take X-Men 3, the worst of the original X-Men movies, and try to do it again, but with our half of our First Class cast. Like, not even the full cast. We're gonna add a bunch of different mutants that we haven't added yet. We're gonna just do with that. And fuck, it's just so boring. And talk about emotionally just like not doing a good job. Jean, of course, gets the Phoenix Force inside her when they go up to space for some reason. You're like, okay, so the X-Wing can just go up into space? Fine, whatever, fuck it. You're just like, they're like, yo, it's the 90s. Yeah, of course it could go into space. You're like, okay, X-Men. She gets the Phoenix Force. They come down. Of course, she has a small incident at the school, but that unlocks that Xavier has been hiding, that her parents actually gave her away instead of her, their parents actually dying in a car crash, is that their parents were scared and gave her away. And Xavier had blocked that out from her mind. So, of course, she's pissed about that, and all the X-Men show up to fight her, and they can't do anything because it's Jean with the fucking X-Force, and to draw some emotion to this scene, to make it be like, oh, Jean really doesn't know what she's doing, and she kills one of her best friends. They kill Jennifer Lawrence. literally just by Jennifer Lawrence being like, "It's okay, Jean, we can figure this out," and then Jean like sends her, like basically Logan's her, sends her through a tree, and she's like, like. And
I mean, that's really just because Jennifer Lawrence wanted out of this shit.
And,
She was already phoning it in by the time Days of Future Past rolled around.
but that's the thing, is that it feels so disingenuous, like you could have done like a great like sending off of Jennifer Lawrence, but instead you have this scene where she's just trying to stop Jean and then just gets whacked. And then, worst of all, like, is that they try to make this drama afterward that Hank, Beast, and Xavier are fighting because Mystique was thinking of leaving because Xavier has changed and he's just using the X-Men to garner a better image. You're like, that's the fucking point of the X-Men, you dumbass. Like, that's literally, Xavier always brings up that point, is that they're out there to put a good face on mutants and save the world. Like, so you're accusing him of going out and doing that? Like, you're like, oh, that's so fucking stupid. And then they have this whole fight, Beast and Xavier, where they're like, you killed her, you did this. And you're like, no, he didn't. Like, he brought the X-Men to a fight and then the enemy killed them. Like, it's just so dramatic, like, it's like First Class has really great drama, actual drama. Like, like they actually try to like bring character in and build off the character. But this Dark Phoenix suffers from being like, we're a sequel, so I don't have to explain shit or build character. So let me just kill Jennifer Lawrence 20 minutes in, and then keep going. And the entire plot, there's the the aliens trying to get the Phoenix Force back, and they're hunting them down. Also completely unnecessary and stupid. It feels like a worse Skrulls from Captain Marvel. Like, and I already thought the Skrulls were kind of wasted in Captain Marvel, and then they're like, yeah, let's do transforming aliens in X-Men. And I know that's what they do in the comics. I fucking know that's what they do. But it looks bad here, like it just doesn't play, and nothing works in this movie. Nothing. Other than the actors are sort of doing a good job delivering this terrible, terrible script. You can tell when they hate a line, though. You can, like, feel it. You can see it on their faces that they, like, hate this line that they're saying because, like, they're being told to say it instead of, like, changing it. And it's just bad. Like, the whole fight with Hank and Xavier put such a bad fucking taste in my mouth. Not because they wouldn't realistically fight, just you killed a woman character to create this drama, and then the drama's super superficial and stupid. Like, you think because you killed a character and they're talking about grief, it's serious, but in reality, you're just doing nothing here. It's just very upsetting for, and I mean, I had no hope in this movie. This was my last movie I was putting on the flight, being like, I might not finish this. Let me choose something that I know is going to be bad, but I want to know how fucking bad it is. And, yeah, so don't watch X-Men, what the fuck is this one?
Dark Phoenix.
Dark Phoenix. Like, just read the comic. If you want this storyline, do yourself a favor. Just read the Chris Claremont comic. Don't hurt yourself. Don't watch X-Men 3 and don't watch this. Just don't. It's okay.
I don't know.
You can walk away.
I don't know how we managed to fuck this up twice.
Twice! That's what kills me even more, is that they have a shining example of how not to do this, and they did it again, mostly the same thing with the same problems. It's just astounding. And there's a good reason that Disney was like, yeah, we're taking the keys away from these guys the minute they got this, and that they've reshot the New Mutants like over and over, and then still put out a subpar movie, which I still haven't seen, but the scores on it are not fucking good on New Mutants. I've heard some really bad things. So maybe it'll be my next flight movie if they put it on there.
It's weird that you decide to just like force yourself to watch bad movies on a flight, or you could just, instead of just watching good movies.
Well, because that's not how a good movie's supposed to be watched on this tiny screen in front of you. Well, you're like, I mean, I aisle to myself.
I
COVID
mean,
things is pretty good. I had a
sure.
whole aisle to myself. But.
I mean, sure, but it's not like you're watching. It's not like you're watching much in the way of movies lately, anyway. And you have shit that you need to watch.
I know, but I wasn't. But you would. I feel. I had your voice in my head because there was Doctor Sleep, and I was like, he'd be pissed if I just watched Doctor Sleep on a flight, like, and then didn't like it. You would have been like, no, you gotta watch it at home. Like actually not distracted by flights. But. Yeah, I can only recommend those last all three of these movies as flight movies. That's the only way I can recommend them is that they are not. All three of them are not worth your time. Gemini Man will be played on your local television show. I can guarantee this will play. Gemini Man will be on FX. Like tonight on FX, Gemini Man. Like guaranteed. Like no question in my mind is Gemini Man going to be one of those action movies that's just like playing on FX or something. Like
kind of like the first 3 X-Men movies.
They love those. They love the Triple X movies. Like they love those movies, and that's what Gemini feels like. Gemini Man, where it's just like it fits into those like this is an okay action movie. That's it. You're like, all right, but I mean, Ang Lee's directing, and he does a good job directing.
Job. I just think it seems that like Ang Lee should just stay away from like huge sort of blockbusters. That doesn't seem like that's where his strengths are.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like they make him do different. Like when he could just make an Ang Lee movie, they make him do something else.
Yeah, it's kind of like Shane Black. Just like after Iron Man 3 and The Predator, it's just like, okay, just stay the fuck away from franchises and just do your own shit.
Oh man, it's hard because it's hard obviously to make these big franchise films, but also you're kind of like, I like you, don't fuck this up. You're just like, don't do that. So for the last thing before we head out, we'll do a little piece of news that we got this morning that I wanted to talk to you about. We got the trailer for The Godfather Coda, the death of
Michael Corleone.
Which, first off, great title. I love that. I love not calling it 3. First off,
it was the original intended title before Paramount was just like, you can't call it that, call it Part 3.
Because first off, anybody who knows what Coda means, this just makes so much sense, and you're just kind of like, yeah. And then you put Death of Corleone after it, and you're like,
Yeah, Coppola had never envisioned Part 3 as technically a Godfather movie. He always saw it as sort of more of like an epilogue.
The end of Michael Corleone, yeah. And I think that's from the recut of the trailer. That's what it looks like he's going for here. That like he's not trying to make this a Godfather film. Like this is the end of Michael. Like, and I can say that's definitely not what the original movie was. Like they're like, hey, we're gonna end Michael, but that's also there's a bunch of other shit. Like, and you're just like, wait. Hold on.
I'll watch it for curiosity's sake. I'm always willing to give like an alternate cut a chance, but it's just one of those things where The Godfather Part 3 has like fundamental problems that I don't think can be solved with a new edit. Namely, just like unless you somehow bring Robert Duvall back, then you're not really going to get anything good out of it. Like Robert Duvall's still around, but it's just one of those things where Tom Hagen, like the falling out between Michael and Tom Hagen was such a thing that was set up at the end of 2 that was supposed to come to a head at 3, but then Robert Duvall didn't come back for 3, so that's out. So we have a bunch of other shit instead.
Yeah, I don't. It's one of those things where, at least with Justice League, they're shooting new things, and you can't do that with The Godfather. This has to just be a re-edit, so you got to work with what you got.
It's a different case because Justice League was one of those things where a lot of it was shot, but then like 40% of it was reshot from the ground up. So that was like a very compromised thing. So it's not the same. It's not 1-to-1. Although it is interesting how much of a trend the Snyder Cut has been making.
I know it hasn't even come out yet, and it's like set such a precedent for like oh yeah, let's start re-editing movies.
Yeah, there've been like it's become like the buzzword now. We're just like, oh, here's a new an alternate cut of this. Here's an alternate cut of this that could happen.
I mean, to be fair, I always make the joke. You buy the box set and you watch 1 and 2 and you use the third as paperweight. Old ass joke. But I would love to not hate 3. You know, like I would love to like enjoy myself watching 3 because it's of course it still looks like The Godfather, you know, like it still plays like The Godfather, but it's all got fundamental problems and doesn't work. So I would love to see this work, you know, like I would like to, but I don't know if this is going to be it, you know, like it's one of those things.
It's not going to fix the missing Tom Hagen. It's not going to help Sofia Coppola's acting.
I mean, I feel kind of the same way with Justice League, with all the new trailers they put out. You know, they showed off the new Steppenwolf costume, and you're like, that's definitely more Zack Snyder. It's just like, yeah, with all the needles and shit coming out of him. I was like, yeah, it's definitely more Zack Snyder. I don't know if it looks better.
And it matches what Steppenwolf was hinted to look like in the extended cut of BVS.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, at least he's connecting the dots. And like, what also cracked me up is that there was an article this week of people being like, $80 million and only 4 minutes of footage was added to Justice League. And you're like, do you know how long 4 minutes is in film? Like, fuck you, first off.
Yeah, it's also one of those things where like, oh, is it really a cut that existed if he has to shoot more? It's just like, well, it's one of those things where like he didn't get to shoot all of it.
Yeah.
But he also doesn't want to use any of the footage that Joss Whedon shot, so he's gonna have to do some reshoots for it to fill in the gaps. And also, a lot of that money is gonna go into unfinished special effects that don't exist, and that costs a pretty penny.
Costs a pretty penny, and I just feel like first off, 4 minutes in film. Most Godzilla movies don't have 4 minutes of Godzilla in them, guys. Like, look it up. There's like, most Godzilla movies have 5 fucking minutes of Godzilla. I love Godzilla movies, but most of the time, the special effects shots, it's not that much time. So to add 4 minutes is a lot. It's like, sure, like, what movie had 12 extra minutes? And I was like, how'd you find 12 extra minutes? Like, I forget. It's one of those things that it might sound short, but in film, 4 minutes is a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
It is, and sure, you could have a 4 minute scene that he could be adding, but I almost like more that he might be like splicing things in and changing context of scenes and who knows? We'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
And
I'm just
likely
gonna keep
adding
my eyes
in
open.
elements that he didn't have the opportunity to maybe even do back on the original shoot that he can do now.
Yeah,
It's a living thing. It is a fun position to be in as someone who likes the DCEU, to just watch people who hate it be so confounded that this is actually happening.
I know, it's really funny.
Because they're just so frustrated and they have no other way to express themselves to be like, God, I hate this, and I hate that you guys are getting this, but I can't do anything about it.
It's like, for me, it's like, you guys bullied a whole studio to make Sonic the Hedgehog better. Why can't we bully the whole studio to make Justice League better? You know, like, it's the same thing where it's like the fans are not satisfied, and if they want to spend the money to satisfy the fans, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, fine. It does set an interesting precedent, though.
It does, because what do you do? The weird thing about this is it seems like WB was like bringing everyone back for these reshoots, which to me means they renegotiated contracts with these guys. So that means that WB spent money for these guys to come back, which, what do you do now? Do you do sort of Zack Snyder's next Justice League movie or whatever? Or do you do what originally came out? Where do you move forward?
I don't know. That's an interesting one, especially since I guess the idea smartly would be to make like HBO Max the main like platform for it.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where it's hard to predict for now whether or not Justice League 2 would be more like it was originally intended, or whether it'll have to shift things around because of like the way like Wonder Woman will turn out and the way Aquaman turned out.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. It's like the movies that did well for the DCU did not have this dark and foreboding Zack Snyder feel, which I'm in for, but I You know, like Aquaman and Shazam are some of their biggest movies that have come out, and they obviously went lighter,
Hmm.
more adventure-y, you know, and obviously Zack Snyder's like, I want to do gods, and you're just like,
Yeah.
you're like, all
It's just
right.
one of those things where like, just like if you're not a fan, then you're not a fan. Like, get over it.
I
Like,
also, to be fair, in comics, like if we're talking like if you're reading month to month comics, most of your month to month comics are pretty light, and then when you get to like the event comic, it's dark as fuck, you know,
yeah.
like, and that's usual. That's even Marvel, you know, like they're like, hey, we're gonna kill somebody this time, you know, like, and
But
I'm okay with the
it's just
big get together movies being
mhm.
epics, you know, like,
It's just one of those things where like if you don't like Snyder's style, then you have what we already have with Justice League already. You can just watch that. If you don't like either, then I don't know.
I don't
Because
know.
I mean, if you didn't like Man of Steel or BVS, no one said you're gonna like. You're probably not gonna like the Snyder cut of Justice League either. Like that,
Yeah,
this is more for the people who actually like that style and want to see what the end game for that was or where that
yeah,
was heading.
yeah, and to me, it seems like an extremely nice thing to do to Zack Snyder. You know, like I know that sounds weird, but like he got this taken away, and a lot of productions would be like, "Fuck you! Of course we took it away from you. We own this
Yeah, I
thing."
know. I know a lot of people love to quote Zack Snyder when he like insults people and stuff like that. It's just one of those things where like if you watch any Zack Snyder interview before like Justice League came out, even given how polarizing Man of Steel and BVS were, Zack Snyder was always like fairly affable and collected and stuff like that. But after his daughter passed away, he's just unfiltered now. He doesn't give a
Yeah,
fuck.
does give a shit, and I don't blame him. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited for it. That's coming soon, and with Godfather Coda coming decently soon too. I'm excited for it, but I'm not. I think I may leave it to you watching it first before because my problem with this is that with the recuts, I need to remember what the original cut was. And for Justice League, that's easy for me because it's so simple and I've seen it like 2 or 3 times. So I
Yeah,
get it.
I will probably have to watch Godfather 3 again, just like the normal one.
Exactly. So you have to put me through almost 3 hours of pain so I can watch another maybe 3 hours of pain. I'm kind of like, I don't know about that.
It'll probably be one of those things because this is supposed to be available relatively soon.
Yeah.
It's supposed to have like a limited theater run next month and then immediately go to streaming after. So it'll probably be a thing where I'll probably watch Godfather 3 like real soon. That way, a month from now, it won't feel as repetitive when the next one comes out.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I salute you, brave sir, for watching Godfather 3 again. You do not have to do that, but I guess we do now. We must know. And I mean, I would love to do an episode on it, you know, like talk about the recut stuff because we've done that with Star Wars. It's one of our first episodes. If you go back, we talk about all the cuts and changes that George Lucas did to Star Wars over the years.
Oh,
And
you
I
know the
would,
Snyder Cut is going to be in its own episode when it's out.
yeah, we are absolutely doing an episode on Snyder
The
Cut.
fucking
Like,
4-hour epic. Of course, we're going to talk about it.
yep. But guys, thank you for tuning in to this episode of The Warp Shelf, another filthy casual episode in the bag. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope you want to talk to us about this stuff. We have a Discord. We have a Facebook. We're both on Twitter. I'm Yupfrank.
I'm Matt Karika.
And we also have our site galaxygeek.com where you can check out every one of these episodes and also articles that me and Deshawn write. Like we brought up in this episode, my year end, how many games have I beaten, and we talked about Digivices, which we also have an article on there too. And guys, be sure to subscribe and like and whatever, because that's how we keep this show going. We do it because me and Deshawn love talking to each other, but we also love listening and talking to you guys. And we would love to, keep it going. So please like, subscribe, do what you got to do, and it will keep this show rolling. So guys, thank you again. I hope you have a great week.
See you next time.